So here I am on Father's Day, and of course I have no cell phone signal. I don't know, honestly, I think if I ever called my dad on the phone, he'd think it was the wrong number and hang up. It just doesn't happen very often, so sorry about that, Dad. Anyway, Father's Day. I'd have to say that I got most of my spirit of adventure and just the idea of going off and doing crazy things a lot from my dad. We grew up pretty cool, actually. You know, we had snowmobiles and motorcycles, and we'd go camping, and we'd summertime we'd jump in the truck or the car and just go cruising across the country. Remember one year we drove all the way from Alberta to Ontario in a little Chevy Vega pulling a tent trailer. I mean, that was the best trip ever. I'm sure that there was times where my dad thought that maybe it wasn't such a good idea, but we took the summer off from farming and just took off. Which, thinking about it, I mean, there is a gap in the schedule after you plant everything. You kind of just wait, but there's always work to be done. So for him to have taken time off to do that, that must have been a decision that had to be made. But yeah, I mean, what a crazy trip in a Vega, no less. I mean, that was the best thing ever. And doing, you know, it's, as usually what happens, you know, you run out of gas in North Dakota or something like that. Or I think it was North Dakota. Yeah, you know, poor little car doing its best to pull that great big old tent trailer. That's pretty much what I'm doing now. You know, so if anybody thinks I'm doing, you know, crazy stuff, I came by it honestly. I mean, going to see Grandma was a 700-mile drive. You know, we do that several times a year. Sometimes straight through, usually straight through, just cruise on. And I remember sometimes my dad would stay home and farm, and we'd go with my mom or something like that. And my mom would stop regularly on the drive to let us kids, my brother and I, get out of the car or whatever we were driving, and we'd go mountain climbing. And I just laugh every time I see it now. It's like you'll have, you know, where the road guys kind of just sloped the side of the hill to make room for the road. That was our mountains, you know, so we'd go climbing up that. We thought that was the best thing ever. You know, we were mountain climbers. I mean, we were probably only 50 feet, but sometimes that would take us a while, you know, just go cruising on up there. So, yeah, you grow up with adventure and it stays with you. So, yeah. Pretty good place to be out here. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say thanks. To my dad and my mom and everybody else that's chipping in and helping me take this trip. Thanks.
Alright, June 19th, Sunday. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. I just pulled the cot out from underneath the poncho. Sleeping bag is wet on top. It's more from condensation, I think. Because I didn't have, like, I was right up against the bottom of the poncho, basically. And I didn't have any airspace around my head, so I had it, like, it's just barely big enough to cover, so I didn't have enough room to prop it up and let the air flow through underneath it. So a lot of this is probably either dew or me breathing, but it's dry on the inside, so definitely kept me from getting wetter than it would have otherwise. So guess it worked. So I gotta wait for that to dry now. Just fine. I really don't. I'm at the point I don't even want to go. I know I got a big hill coming. I'm like, I don't want to do it. But on the plus side, see the sun hitting the top of the trees, and I don't see any clouds at all. It's supposed to be clear the rest of the week. So we should be able to make some time now. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Sun hitting halfway up the trees there. We'll get some. Alright. Alright, 8 o'clock. I didn't do that quite on purpose, but basically ready to roll. Let's see how we're doing. About 45 something, I think. 46 volts. Not stellar, but it's better than nothing. All the sun is on the other side of the road. Oops. I actually took my sleeping bag and put it over on that side to let it dry out because the sun was there and it wasn't over here yet. I moved the bike out to here because there was a tiny little bright spot here. It lasted about 15 minutes and then it moved over and I'm like, whatever. Whatever, man. All right, let's just go. Going that way, we got a little hill. Well, we got a hill and then we got a coast and it's more or less level-ish for about 20 miles, I think. And then we have the big hill and that's going to suck. And then after that, it's not too bad again. So with good sunlight, and this is going to be the trick, if the road aligns with the sun, like you can see the trees, right? The amount of shade that these things create is just really screwing with me. That's one of the biggest problems is I would have sun, except for the shade of the tree. And for this to work, if I had sun all the time, I'd almost make it. It's kind of how it is right now. So we'll just do our best and push the rest and never speak of it again. This is way better in the desert. Literally 8 minutes later, sunshine. I'm going to sit here and warm up for a few minutes and let the bike get a charge. Yeah, where I was sitting was damp and shaded and yucky, and here it's warm and a little bit breezy, but at least in the sunshine. Plus we're going to go downhill, so I'm going to sit here for a minute. Nothing harder than going down the hill. It seems wrong, but you're freezing your butt off all the way down. You have to stop and warm your hands up sometimes. I want to put on the motorcycle, I had plastic guards here, which are supposed to keep from the branches from hitting you in the hands so hard, but they also block the wind a lot, and I think that's a good idea. I might do that. The more I think about it, I'd love to take more cues from the KLR and put it on here. I think would be kind of funny. All right. Did you know that these videos are entirely supported by people's donations? It's crazy but true. You could be one of those people. If you'd like to help out, keep my wheels rolling on this mission here, where I'm riding about the countryside trying to remind people that we have about 22 military veterans committing suicide every day, which is a horrible thing to think about. I think that's maybe why people forget. It's just too hard to comprehend. But in the meantime, we've sent our people off into some pretty horrible places, and they come back, and sometimes they just don't fit in with the regular people anymore, so they're having a hard time. So my mission is to remind people that this is still happening, and if we can get some traction on that, maybe we could do something to actually help. But in the meantime, it's just kind of going out there and reminding people and talking to people wherever I can. So the trailer has been really wonderful for that. You know, people see that, they're like, oh, what is this all about, right? So as I'm learning my process here, one of the things I want to do is expand on, like for instance, signage on the trailer and that kind of thing. When I first started, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do with this. But if we can keep the money coming in so I can afford to keep riding, we can start putting together some kind of a package and a program. I haven't reached out to places like VFWs yet because I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish the 22 states this year or not. And I'd like to have a little bit better understanding of what's going on before I go out and start talking to like national groups and also to sponsors like the dream would be if somebody like Cliff Bar would help sponsor the ride. So if you know anybody at Cliff Bar, keep me in mind. Maybe we can get something going there. But
where I'm at right now is I'm probably burning about 4,000 calories a day, which is more than the money I have coming in most days. So I'm always kind of skimping on something. So ideally, if I could get up into about the $500 a month range, I think this month I'm closer to $300. A couple months ago I had $700. So it comes and goes. Unfortunately, I had to replace the bicycle, and then the trailer broke, and that kind of thing. So it kind of screwed up the numbers. So anyway, my job is to do the riding. If anybody wants to help support the mission, there's PayPal, there's Patreon. On YouTube members, you can do a YouTube membership. You can choose your level of support, or it's each video you can do the little super thanks. So down below the video where the like is, there's also a heart that lets you give me a one-time donation. So if you'd like to do that, that would help me out enormously. And if the level of support is high enough, then we can continue the ride. My goal has always been 22 states in 2022 for the 22 veterans. The start was really good, and then lately it seems like things are slowing down on the income side. So I don't know if I lost people in California or what happened, but if we don't have the support, then I just have to go home. So I don't really want to go home. So hopefully we can get things going a little bit. That's what I'm doing. I don't always talk about it in every ride or in every video, but the whole purpose for me being out here is to kind of shine the light on the problem, and maybe we can remind people. And like for instance, there was a couple guys I talked to on the side of the road a few days ago. One of the guys has a brother who just got out of the Marine Corps, and he totally got what I was saying, or I've had other people just randomly ask what I'm doing, and you hit a nerve. You definitely tell when you make a connection. So I just want to keep making those connections with people, because a lot of people are aware of the problem, and a lot of people know people that are veterans that are getting out or have gotten out. And I think the problem is the average veteran doesn't know how to talk about how they're feeling, how they're doing. We're taught to suck it up and power through. So that's what I'm doing, and appreciate your support, and thank you. On with the show. I'll have to check that out later. I gotta figure there's people tired of California that don't want to move. Anyway, we are in Trinity Center. I assume these are sort of like cookies. I don't know. Anyway, so I've been running short on water for a while. I had picked up most of a gallon of water in a stream, but I couldn't find any water purification tablets. I think they're in the other first aid pack that I didn't bring or something. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want to die or get sick. Probably more likely get sick. So didn't drink it, but I carried it for 20 miles just in case I did need it. But oh yeah, these would be good. So got me a gallon of water and the cookies and a Coke. That's everything we need. Oh yeah, this is Trinity Center General Store. I rode by it. I'm like, well, from the highway I didn't even see there was a store in here, but then a little tiny sign, gas station that way. I'm like, okay. Let's see, 150 calories per 4 cookies. Yeah. If we eat 17 cookies, we'll have enough to get over the next hill. Okay, we're on the north shore of Trinity Lake. All right. Let this come as a cautionary warning. In some ways, California is considered to be ahead of the curve or progressive or something. All right? So what does that mean? If you don't live sustainably, you're going to end up like this. This is supposed to be the lake. I don't see no lake. The lake is out of sight around the corner. All right. So, it's sort of like your checkbook. It's something I'm still working on. You can't keep spending faster than it's coming in. Step 1. Tear out your lawn. You don't need to water that crap. Step 2. Nobody cares about your stinking avocados. Quit irrigating the crops. There's other parts of the country that'll grow stuff just fine. You gotta save some water for wildfires, because they're coming. It's a lot of gravel. I'm trying to figure this out. It looks like they dug that. Like, I guess they dug channels so what was left would get to the lake. Okay, that seems all right. And I think there's a creek that feeds in from off this way, feeds into the lake. And the bottom end of the lake was holding water only because the dam is there. Otherwise, this wouldn't have been a lake in the first place, I guess. One way to look at it. So they're trying, but yeah, just looking at that water line, we got to be about 50 feet low. Something like that. That's crazy. Anyway, rant over. The plan for the moment, it's 9:15. I'm super deep into the shadows still. I'm just not getting any sun. So, staying in a lower gear, using minimal assist. Anytime I can coast down the hill, I coast down the hill. On the GPS plot for the next 25 miles, well, the first half is basically level, and then we gradually start coming up. And then at about 25 miles, we hit the hard steep, right? Well, if you look really close at the GPS plot, maybe I'll put it on the screen here. It's got the actual elevation, and then it's got percent grade. And if you're looking at too much area, like for instance, at the moment I've got about 75 miles on the plot, so it doesn't have enough resolution to show you every individual bump. Okay. So I'm thinking, all right, once we got past Trinity Center there, it's pretty level. But if you look really close, no, the average is pretty level. But we still got the little bip, 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 bip up and down. Which is kind of annoying. So, I just don't have enough sun. Oh, here I just broke out. Yay! I could do the up and downs if I had enough sun to be able to power up the hills. But even then, it's, early enough. Sun is still really low. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, if I sat still for an hour, would that make much of a difference? It would. But it would make more difference if I sat still up between 11 and 3, somewhere in there. I'd get way more watt hours because the sun is higher. You just get more power out of it. It's just, when you need it the most is in the morning. You haven't got it. Okay, so here they made a land bridge across. And you can see there's driveways down into it. And those mounds are the size of houses, basically. They're pretty high, you know, including the roof of the house, I think. And that stretches back. I was seeing that from the vista point, which was maybe 2 or 3 miles back. So way up that canyon, the lake is further up the canyon in that direction. So they must have put an enormous amount of energy into pulling all that rock out of there to make the center deeper, I guess. Because it's not, you know, it's not just random. There, you can kind of see furrows where they dumped truckloads. They must have brought in mining trucks to do it. Yeah, that's crazy. All right, leaving National Recreation Area into other recreational area. I will say I appreciate there's hardly any traffic on this road. That part is good. And I have seen other people using their cell phone, so it's just a matter of I've got the wrong phone again. That happens. All right, this is the hard part for me, is sitting here and waiting for the thing to charge up. I gotta, this would be something to consider for next time. Anyway, we're at the base of the hill. It's about noon. I'm getting close to 4 amps of charge. I got the bike and, you know, tilted up on a rock and everything to get the most out of it. And we got about 7 miles to the top from what I can see. And we actually only got to climb about another 2,000 feet because we're almost at 3,000 feet now. So we've been gradually climbing for a while. So at the beginning I was thinking, okay, I need 5,000 foot climb, but I wasn't taking into account what I already had. So that makes it a little better. But the only problem is we got a headwind. That comes and goes. I tell you what, does that take the fun out of it? Anyway. Honestly, after the first quarter mile, I've been just walking this hill. It is brutal. It's right messed up. So, using the walk assist, it's only using 1 or 2 amps. I think my battery is basically, or my solar is keeping up to the motor at that range, which is cool. So that'll save me some power for the other side. There's your dude. This is a nice place for a break. Oh yeah. Sit a spell. It would be easy to be discouraged. Yeah, you laugh when you just want to cry. Anyway, I'm walking the bike up the hill. This is relatively steep. This would be slow in a car, except for the Porsche that went by me. Guy on a regular bicycle just goes flying by me, just pedaling away, and I'm like, hey, see ya, you know. Of course, he didn't have any load with him, and I mean, I don't think he had more than a pack of gum in his pocket, kind of thing. That would make a difference. If it didn't involve going up and down the hill a few times, if I could take the trailer and take off every bit of load, except for the batteries and the motor, it would be interesting to see how well this would do. But that would involve going to the top, dropping the load, going back down, coming back up. Not going to do it. But I suspect it could be a lot better. Anyway. All right, Klamath Falls, Klamath National Forest. Bus passed me on the way up. A whole bunch of hikers. All right, got 43 volts. I ended up riding a couple sections that weren't as steep. I thought I was almost to the top, and then I finally had to get off and walk anyway. Anyway, let's observe yonder marker. California-Oregon State Road, 1860 to 1887. James E. Carr. There was a car fire recently at a whiskey town. Same family. Oh yeah, reminder, mile marker about 85 at the summit. Coming from that way, I think, yeah, we're just entering a new county, so it's going to be a new set of mile markers, but 85 was the summit. They look excited. Coming down, it said 7% grade for 6 miles. It doesn't feel nearly as steep as the other side did. I mean, I'm still dragging brake a lot, but I'm hitting speeds of 15 and 20 coming down, and I don't feel like I'm going to just explode. But I keep thinking I want air brakes or a parachute or something. That would be so cool coming down a hill, not wasting all your brakes, or just get the regen to work. That would be all right too. This is some pretty country. Once you get back down, it'll be relatively level for the next 30 miles, which means there's going to be a million ups and downs, but yeah, anyway, definitely not going to be flat. But now we got a whole lot of blue skies, except for that and all of that. Big puffy clouds are fine as long as they don't rain on me again. See how the forecast holds up. Also, no cell phone coverage, so no forecast. Alright, let's get the whole effect here. Camping area, $5. You can pay online with PayPal. Easy, done. Bunch of hikers are over there. I'm the only guy on a bike. I found this place completely by accident. I'm literally riding down the road looking for a random place to hide and couldn't find anything. Too many farms and everything and dogs and everything. And then I blow a tire on the trailer So I put a spare tube on, go about a mile, blow that one too. I'm like, oh, right. So by this time I'm like, okay, it's going to be running out of daylight pretty soon. It wasn't sundown yet, but it's getting close. So I realized for the first time all day I actually have cell phone coverage. So I fire up Google Maps instead of the offline map and look at this little town, Etna here. And, oh, there's a city park. I'm like, well, okay. If you're in a city park, at least you're not in somebody's yard, right? They might get mad, but anyway. So I get to the city park and I see the little sign that says camping that way. I'm like, what? There's camping? How cool is that? So I roll in here, look around a little bit, talk to a couple of the guys. They're all camping the Pacific Crest Trail, which is the same trail the guys that I met when I was back in Ridgecrest. So these aren't the same guys, obviously, but they're on the same trail. So I'm like, oh, okay. So some of these guys have started in Mexico and come all the way up. Anyway, so they're like, oh yeah, this is the shower, but you have to go downtown to get tokens, which I don't really feel like messing with that right now. And they're like, oh, and there's a charging station. So they give you the 3 plug-ins, and this USB charger is mounted so it just stays in here. So you can charge your phone or anything. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, I'm charging my bike battery because it's right dead. So we'll let that charge. Yay. It's like, yeah, that works. So the issue with the tire on the trailer, one tire is doing pretty good, but it got a flat a few days ago. Oh, hang on. Okay, so the issue with the tire, one of the trailer tires, the tire is doing well, but it got a flat, it had a thumbtack in it. They're starting to wear down a little bit. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, right? And then day after that, I start looking, and the other trailer tire has got cords showing through it already. So odds are on that little trailer, they weren't expecting to go 500 or 600 miles. No, actually I've gone more than that because I did 400 miles for the Sun trip. Yeah. It was supposed to be 500 miles, but we cut it short because nobody was keeping up with what we were thinking we were going to do. Everybody had one kind of problem or another. My batteries weren't big enough. One of the other guys blew a motor. You know, the whole thing was kind of chaotic. So, yeah. Anyway, so it wasn't 500 miles for the Sun trip. That's not what we're here for. But yeah, that little trailer has gone all the way from Ridgecrest in Northern California, including the Sun trip, which means I backtracked and went up again, the same track basically. So yeah, the fact that my tires are wearing out, I don't feel too bad about that. So what happened was there's cords showing on the tire, and there's enough of a gap where the tube, when I put the new tube on, it poked through between the cords, and so it blew right away. And that was one of my slime tubes. And so I look back and I can see it spraying green slime everywhere. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to clean that up, I guess. So there's a little bit of green blobs on the solar panels. So that's on my list. I got to clean that up. But I think it's water soluble, so it'll come off. But it's on some of the other stuff too. It's like, So I'm like, okay, I'm on Highway 3, north of Weaverville, and I'm about 35 miles from Eureka. The one that starts with the Y-R-E-K-A, not the one on the coast. It's E-U-R-E-K-A. Yeah, let's put 2 towns almost in the same area that sound the same. That doesn't make any sense, except in California. Everything is different. Anyway, so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, it's a 16-inch tire. It's a kid's bike tire is basically what should be on there. So I got to figure out where am I going to find a replacement tire for that. But in the meantime, what I did is I took 2 of the tubes that were already flat, and I sliced them and then and then I patched one of the tubes that had a leak in it for the trailer. So I've got 3 different sizes of tubes and 3 different sizes of tires on here. The 2 on the trailer are the same size, and then the back tire on the bike is different from the front tire because it's mismatched from the old bike. Yeah, just, because. Anyway, so I've got spare tires and spare tubes for the bike, but I've only got spare tubes for the trailer. And I think what happened when I first bought the trailer, I looked at that, I'm like, okay. I went and I bought, well, I know for sure I got 2 spare tubes that I bought, and I think I bought 4, just because I've had such bad luck with tires, right? And then looking at it, I'm like, I wasn't sure that trailer would last 100 miles. Really, I had no idea. So I didn't want to invest in new tires for it also, for spares. I figured, well, if it falls apart, I'll think of something else later, right? Well, the trailer's basically doing okay. It's not spectacular, but it's basically doing okay. So now I got to be thinking, I got to find a town, probably with a Walmart that has that size of tire, so I can get spare tires for it. Yeah. The funny thing was, when I'm coming into this little town here, so I'm like, okay, I'm on a flat tire. All right, so I'm coming into town. I'm dragging that trailer with a flat tire. It's getting towards sunset. My batteries are just about dead, so I'm pedaling without using electric assist, and I'm just about dying. And I look over on one of the side streets that I went past, and here's a kid's bike with probably that size of wheel on it. And I'm like, oh, I should just knock on the door and say, hey, can I steal your kid's bike tires, you know? And then I realized I didn't even have any cash on me. So I'm like, yeah, can I have your tire for $4 and change? You know, that's not going to go over very well. Not the way to make your entrance into a town, right? So, yeah, they were probably the right size, but that probably wouldn't be a very good idea. Anyway, so I roll into this little, so after looking at Google Maps, I'm like, okay, there's a high school here. I think they've all graduated, so I could probably sneak in there. And then I realized right next to the high school is a city park. And I'm like, well, if you're going to be, you know, I'd given up on finding a place to camp off the side of the road, because every time I saw any kind of a pull-off, it was into somebody's yard, right? So yesterday I came through forestry land. I could park anywhere I wanted to, you know, either legally or illegally, but there was spots everywhere. So I took advantage of that a couple nights. And all of a sudden now I'm in civilization again. I couldn't find anywhere. So I find the little park, see the sign, camping. Oh man, you know, 'cause I'm just thinking I'm going to camp in the park and I'll just hope for the best, you know. So now I'm registered, $5, boom, you know, I got that, no problem. So, yay, you know. So now I got so what I did on the tube, I patched the tube, and then I took 2 of the old tubes and I sliced them from the inside and then wrapped them around the good tube to give it a little more thickness, for like just a liner basically. And thinking about it, I'm like, well, if it starts squirming around, that tube is going to slide out of place. So I took some of my rubber cement, because I got a whole bunch of it, and I kind of painted the tube and then wrapped the wrapper around it, and I put 2 of them on that way. So I got 2 layers of tube around the good tube. And look, okay, put it together, aired it up. Okay, that seems like it's holding air, but I still got cords showing on the outside. And the second tube, when it leaked, it blew all the slime through, so you could see where the problem was. So there's actually a completely worn through part of that tire. I'm like, okay, that's going to be a problem. So I took my black Gorilla tape, that's that shot that was of the tire, I ripped it in half and went all the way around the tire 2 times, I guess. It's not, I mean, it's not going to last forever, but I've got a whole bunch of that tape, so I'm like, well, we'll try it, you know, see what it does. I don't know. I actually had thought about it after, you know, one of the ideas was I could have wrapped Gorilla tape on the inside of the tire. Maybe would have been better. It would have kept the tube from pushing up through the hole. I'll try that next time, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, anyway. So I got camp half set up. Sun is already down. I got the bike battery charging. That'll get me out of here on a full charge. Haven't done that since, that Coal Creek campsite. I fully charged the battery there. This is only the second time I've used the battery charger that I bought from Ryan, one of the guys in the Sun Trip. So that's twice. When I was in Ridgecrest, I added Harbor Freight batteries to the Harbor Freight pack that I had made, and I recharged then. So this is only the third time since Texas that I've plugged the bike in. Yeah. Well, fourth if you count the time that they fully charged the batteries before they gave them to me. The other guys on the Sun trip found a guy that had a bunch of batteries and at a bike shop, and so I guess we got them for free, if I remember right. It's a little foggy on details because they didn't want to tell me what was going on because I wasn't supposed to know they were giving me a battery, and I saw them all. I was like, man, what are all these doing here? So anyway, that is that. So I'll come out of here on a fully charged battery. It was kind of bugging me because I was coming down the hill and I was being really careful. I got over a 5,000 foot hill today, and I managed to come out of that with some battery left. And then coming into town, I ran out of battery anyway. So I'm like, crap, I was trying to have enough battery to leave in the morning, but I couldn't find anywhere to camp. And then I happened to find this place for $5. I'm like, yay, legal. Nobody's going to shoot at me for being on their front yard. So that's always good. Anyway, I'm the only guy on a bike in a campsite full of hikers. I definitely made a spectacle of myself when I came in. They're like looking at it. I was like, what is that? So everybody asks all the questions. I'm like, yes, it's real. It works, usually, except not today. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, that's it for now. I gotta wrap up some stuff and finish setting up my camp and get everything ready and figured out. So, yay. As always, thanks for the support, and I finally got internet so I can upload a couple videos. I realized there's at least 2 videos I haven't uploaded yet, so I'll get those uploaded, and then this one will go up, and I'll probably schedule one of these to go up tomorrow or something like that. So, yeah, that's it for now. Later. Bye. Thanks. Yay.